I'd like to call to order the Town Council meeting for May 26th. Can we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Michael Aurelio.
Here.
Brian Blazak.
Present.
Wayne Pondinas.
Present.
Michael Schilling.
Here.
Gerald Swatz.
Here.
David Westland.
Present.
And Beth Hernandez, present.
Okay, thank you. And item number 4 is the approval of the minutes. You have in front of you the November 9, 2020 special meeting minutes and also the April 28, 2021 regular meeting minutes. Any questions or comments on those? Then I will look for a motion to have those approved.
So moved.
Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Brian, for the support. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Those are approved, 5-0. Item number 5, public comment.
One person. Louise Talent? Did I get that right? Monthly test.
And you don't even wear glasses, Dave.
I used a pencil. That's not fair, right? Okay. Good evening, and thank you very much for, okay, how's that?
And your name and address for the record.
Oh, sure. My name is Louise Talent, and I have the address of 2723 Sycamore Drive, Dyer, Indiana, 46311, and you're probably going, why are you here?
Okay.
And I did send a letter undercover for the Lake Central Education Foundation. I delivered it, hand-delivered it to you. I hope that you all got them in your mailboxes. Does anybody know or remember about it?
Yes.
Yes, you did, thank you. Okay, so I was just following up with the letter, and if it would be best for me to actually request to be on the agenda to discuss the letter, I will. The foundation provides educational grants to teachers, and I have a handout that I'd like to share with you, if you don't mind, if I shared it with you.
That's
Would
fine.
that be okay?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And thank you so much for the evening.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you very much.
There are, I know you all have a very busy, you have a full agenda, I'm sure. So thank you for the minutes. I maybe only have a 2-minute limit. I know at the school board meetings, that's what we're given.
I'll give you 3.
3, okay, I got, on your mark, get set. These gentlemen I met, okay, time me. Anyway, I am a teacher from, retired teacher from Lake Central, but I have served on the Lake Central Education Board for several years, and we are able to provide funds. We've provided, we are going into our 55th round of grants that we provide for teachers. Teachers do write the grant. The foundation earns the money, and we do have business support, and we have community support. Individuals support us, and our teachers write the grants for encouraging innovative educational programs for their classrooms. And some of the pictures that you'll see in this flyer that was composed by our co-president, Susan Schweitzer. Susan lives in Cherville, so she and I are co-presidents of this organization. She couldn't be here tonight, into school, and she is our tech trainer as well. So you can see some of the things that are done. Another way that we do earn funds is through the license plate program, and so we do try to look outside and just don't always go to town councils or community members to help raise our funds, because we do pay taxes for our teachers and our educational materials as well. However, when it gets to the point where we have teachers that want to do new and different things and expand, it's nice, and I know Beth can, she's shaking her head, yes, she is a little aware of some of the neat things that teachers do. And the license plate funds, it's all explained here, you guys can read it. But I am proud to say that the Lake Central Education Foundation receives every I think it's 6 months, we receive a check of about $600, and it is the highest number of all the foundations in Northwest Indiana. That the next one, I believe, is Gary, and they have got like $500 this last time. So people in our area do support education, and I am an advocate for our teachers, for Lake Central Schools. Been there 25 years, and I was just telling Mrs. Susan that I loved my job. I love the kids. And I was hoping perhaps you have money that's going out a zillion directions. I just looked at your spreadsheet and I'm going, oh my. And, but if it could be possible that it is in your ability and your bylaws to share some funds with the foundation, we would really appreciate it. So I guess I'm here asking for reimbursement or some funds. That's what we're here for, to help our teachers.
So I do have a question for you.
Sure.
So I'm looking at this brochure here.
Yes, this
and
out.
this is the license plate one.
Yes,
It says the cost is $40.
right.
So is that what actually will cost for the license plate?
Yes.
If I order them through the state,
Yes.
right? And then, so just so everybody knows, of that $40, $15 covers the plate administrative costs, $6.25 funds the elementary school counselor grant fund, and $18.75 goes directly to the school corporation.
Right.
So,
To the foundations.
to the foundation.
Yes,
Okay.
and it, like Munster has a foundation, Highland, Griffith, obviously Gary, so does Crown Point, Maryville. So those they go by zip code, and so our tri-town area,
Right.
that's how they break it up, and so they know which school districts have which foundations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else, Dave?
I did miss one. Terry Nelliman also signed it.
Thank you. You pronounced it right.
Getting better.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Terry Nelliman. My address is 9500 West, 103rd Place. I am here to, again, just to remind you, the council, but again, Mr. Aurelio, you might be a little bit not knowing what's going on, but the rest of the council is, and the legal counsel is familiar with what's going on. I'm here today so that there has to be no summons for me or no subpoena for me to help you with the situation with what's going on in the gates of St. John. I know we've had this discussion before. Mr. Sweats, you asked me to stay, to be careful not to go too far out of bounds with this, in different words. But again, I need for you to understand that I'm here for you. I'm here for our community. What is going on with this Lennar Builders is dangerous. Mr. Blazak, I believe we had the opportunity to have you and one of the town people come out to our home. I never received a call from you.
I don't believe that was myself. Might have been John Gill, possibly.
No, John Gill. No, it wasn't John Gill. It was another gentleman you said would come out, and so that you can actually see what the issues are with what's going on with these homes being built by Lennar. It's just not our community, gentlemen. Lennar's building all over the place. I'm worried about our community, our values. This has been going on, again, for the third time. I cherish, I understand, and I respect this council and legal counsel. You can only do what legal counsel will advise you to do. Please protect the homeowners of the gates of St. John. Please. Again, I thank you for your time. I'm sorry you're here again, but I'm here for you. You don't need to subpoena me or summons me. I want to help the community.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for finding that on the bottom line.
Okay, we'll move on to item number 6, which is new business. 6A is to consider the offer of employment for a new town manager. We have employment agreement in front of you that we are going to offer to Chris Salatis. Before I get into Chris and his introductions, I would like to get approval on the agreement. I think we made a number of changes today to that agreement, and all of them seem to be fine with one exception, and that was on, as far as the annual raise, which would be 3B, gentlemen, in compensation. We had a bracket in there of an annual raise, which we pulled out of there. I think, to clarify it, I think it would be important to offer to Mr. Salatis the same thing that we offer to the other town employees. So if we could change the verbiage in there, maybe have an amendment to include that he receives the same consideration or the same raise that most of the town employees receive. I talked to you about verbiage on this, Mr. Westland. Did you have something that you could advise us on?
The rest of the agreement is acceptable.
So do we want a motion to get the agreement on the table first?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I would like a motion to get this agreement on the table for discussion.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there support?
Second.
Okay.
What page are you on, Joe?
I am on page 4, which is
Top of page 4.
which is item 3B, the very first one on the top, here, right up there.
So you really have two options, well, probably more than two, but two that come to mind. If you want to change that language, you could simply just defer this until we change the language, right? Like, that's certainly one option. Probably the more expedient option, if that's the only thing that the council wants to have changed, then you could approve the agreement, and then by separate motion, approve an amendment to paragraph 4B that give me the, tomorrow or Friday.
So you don't want the amendment approved first?
No, I want, you could do it that way too. You could say, I move to approve the agreement with the amendment
Okay.
to 4B for that verbiage, that the annual raise would be similar to or the same as the majority of the other
Town employees.
town employees. So you could do it as one motion, and then I can just, it's going to be a one paragraph amendment that removes that paragraph and puts that language in. You could get this signed tonight,
Right,
and then we can, get the amendment to you
Okay.
whenever.
that makes sense?
So we would do it if the employees get a raise, he gets a raise.
The way that amendment was just proposed was that his raise would be the same as the majority of the employees. So if the employees get 3% or 2% or 1%, that's what he gets.
He would get that, yeah.
Right, so he would, if the town benefits, he'll be in lockstep with other employees of the town,
I would say every other, but I know it doesn't apply to some, so.
or most.
The most of the employees.
Okay.
And if they don't, then he doesn't give a raise.
Unless you exercise your discretion.
We always have the discretion every year that we
I mean,
can
you
give out
could
raise
give-
to one person if we wanted to.
Right.
Or raise to everybody except one person if we wanted to. but-
Right, but you want to treat all employees.
Exactly, and that's kind of what
That's
this
right.
motion does. It treats him like all the other employees in town. He
Right.
would be tied into the same raise that they were. So yes, Mike, if we gave the town employees 3, then he would get 3. Last year, we did 2.8, because that was the cost of living, so he would have gotten that. And so this doesn't tie us to a percentage, it ties it to what we decide everybody else would get, so. Make sense to you? Brian?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
And there's
I
some
think that sounds like good
common
business.
sense to that kind of philosophy, because as the town manager, the captain of the ship, as the ship goes, with the other employees, so should the town manager, right?
Captain.
Like, so there is some common sense that kind of goes along with an amendment like that.
So, yeah, I'd like to do the amendment and include the amendment as part of this. So how would you, so what's the verbiage? What motion are we looking for?
You'd be looking for a motion to approve the employment agreement and amend paragraph 4B.
3B.
Sorry, 3B.
3B.
To reflect that Mr. Salatas would receive annual raises consistent and the same as the majority of the other Town of St. John employees.
Okay. So do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Support for that?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions or comments? Then all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Okay, that passes. So that was the amendment, or that was the amendment and the agreement?
As the motion to approve the agreement with the amendment.
Okay. Sorry, did I hear, I heard Mike, I didn't hear Wayne. Did you say?
Did I agree to that?
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So everybody was, so it's 5-0?
5-0.
Okay, thank you. So then, with that being approved, I would like to ask Mr. Chris Salatas to come forward, and I'd like to introduce him, and your lovely wife as well. If you would, tell us a little bit about you and introduce your wife.
So my wife Jessica joins me here today.
Yes, please do.
Thank you for giving me this amazing opportunity to serve yourselves and the people of St. John. We're both looking forward to moving into St. John and becoming part of the community. I guess my name and address for the record is Chris Salatas, 326 Pine Ridge Circle, Lowell, Indiana. Like I said, we're really excited. This is going to be great. St. John is one of the premier communities in not just Northwest Indiana, but the state of Indiana. I'm looking forward to all the exciting opportunities and projects you have going on, and becoming a part of Team St. John and working with you. A little bit about myself. I am an Eagle Scout. I'm a Knight of St. John. I have my bachelor's degree from IU Northwest in political science. So as I like to joke, I have a BA in BSing. I am currently working on my MBA at the University of Arizona, and I currently serve as the Lowell Town Council President, which I will be giving up as I take this role. I also currently I serve as the Regional Director for U.S. Senator Todd Young, and I serve a 20-county district for him that has a population of 1.8 million people. So I'll be happy to downsize to the town of St. John and to be more local. My passion is local government. You can affect and improve people's lives a lot more substantially, and you can actually see some tangible changes as opposed to the federal government. Just recently as well, me and my wife just completed the Macaulay School of Real Estate, so we just did that. We both enjoy gardening at home, and we look forward to starting a family here in St. John.
Well, welcome. Thank you. Oh, you're going to go that way? That's fine. Okay.
Chris, congratulations.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.
Congratulations. We're looking forward.
Thank you, Wayne.
So nice to meet you. You're welcome.
No, that's fine. Board. Thank you. And you guys have a great attorney. He's also the Lowell attorney as well.
And your,
Hey, you're kissing up? Gee.
He gets everybody's last name right.
Well, that's good. That's
all right.
good.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good evening, Chris.
I thought that was vote confidence.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's fine. I think why you're asked.
Should we try to get a picture with everybody?
Look at that.
Yeah, we should do
Jeez,
that.
man.
Why don't we try to get a picture with everybody?
You in
I
a
think we should
hurry
take the
or what?
opportunity to get a picture with the council and new
We can do that.
town manager.
What works best?
Come down.
Come on down, Wayne.
That's one of our engineers.
Good-looking group there, huh?
All good? Okay. We'll take one more here. Very good.
So you just need to ask Jerry for a point of order, courtesy, and
Not today.
No, I was gonna say, give him a week or two.
All right.
I'm gonna have him in here before he starts. So he can meet, so he can meet a few people.
You may? Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah, for the purposes of the record,
Gotta start our
Mr.
orientation.
Pondinas asked for
Point of order.
point of order, personal courtesy that the chair granted.
We got
Yes.
training.
I will do that.
Right, so when we voted on the agreement, I wasn't voting on the hiring, I was voting on the agreement for that percentage. And I misunderstood that, so I apologize, but I'm not voting for the employment of Chris.
So the amendment you were,
And that's why I think you asked me, you kind of said something.
yeah, it wasn't,
And
yeah, and that's why I asked Mr. Westland if we
Right.
approved the agreement or if we
Right.
approved the amendment.
so that's.
So
what
you're in favor of the amendment,
I'm in favor of the amendment.
So that's
but not
5-0.
On the hiring,
but opposed to the hiring,
Right.
that was a 4-1.
right.
Yeah, so for the record, and for
Yes.
purposes of the minutes, it'll be noted that Mr. Pondinas voted yes for the amendment, but no
For the appointment.
for the
So,
appointment.
yes for the contract as written, but no for the employment.
Right.
Right.
Well, yeah, he voted yes to amend the contract to
amend the
to make that.
Right.
He was in favor, if I understand him correctly, he was in
Yes, sir.
favor of the change to make the town manager position consistent with the other employees.
Got it.
So, yeah, in hindsight, had I known that, I would have made you do it in two separate steps,
Right.
right? But,
And that's what I was.
so
looking
I
for.
didn't, I thought we were all on the same page, so I
Okay.
apologize for that.
No problem. All right, sorry, Wayne.
No, that's okay.
All right, so item 6B is to consider the change order number 1 from Hassan Associates. Do we have a representative? Yes, sir.
Good evening, Matt Vignal, Hazen Associates. I'm the project manager over the 2020-2021 Community Crossing Road Improvements Project. This change order is for additional cost for the ADA ramp improvements. So when you look at the ADA ramps and you walk down, there's the red domes that you see in them. They're called truncated domes. When we originally bid the contract out, it was in the contract documents to provide the cast iron powder-coated brick red domes or approved equal. After awarding the contract to Reith Riley, we were notified at the pre-bid meeting, the pre-construction meeting, that they did not provide us a cost for those domes. These were anticipated for the job. We're trying not to detour from using those. It is what was recommended from Public Works. The fiberglass ones do get beat up, and so these cast iron ones will outlast anything that's out there right now. So that being said, we did review Reith Riley's cost that was put into the original bid, and it is not conducive with the cost that we're used to seeing for these truncated gray cast iron domes. They are significantly more expensive. So the initial cost per square yard was at $150 per square yard, which is typical for the fiberglass ones. These cast iron ones, our initial cost was at $410. So the additions for this cost equates to an additional $209.60 per square yard, or $9,314.62. If you look at the attachment B, Reith Riley has provided a cost breakdown for the material cost and the labor cost expenses, totaling $15,980.63. That cost is inclusive of the cost for the fiberglass that they bid and these additional change order additions. So total cost, all in total, will be $9,314.62 added to this that we would recommend for the council to approve.
Questions or comments, gentlemen?
Well, I think that the truncated plates with our subdivision control ordinance, that was changed And I think that was by Bob Davis and our building department, because we pushed the corners back and the fiberglass just gets all tore up.
Yeah,
And-
yeah, they do.
And that's
Well-
why that, that change, because I know Bob says he didn't like that. We do push the corners, plowing snow, and it does tear them up.
It's hard to delineate that in the winter when you
Right.
have a foot of snow over
And
it.
you got
in
snow
the
all
plow
over it.
guys' defenses, so.
So, that's why that price was there, but they didn't catch that with the change in the
So in
subdivision control ordinance.
in defense of Reeve Riley's cost, on jobs, when we put in the plans, when we specify something or approved equal, beings that we have this job under the NDOT standard and specifications, when NDOT does a job, when they do approved equal, they have an approved equal list of material providers. On that list are all types of truncated domes that they allow. So back before they got into the fiberglass, you had the brick ones where they'd put the turbo sand in basically and beat them in there. Then they went to the fiberglass. Now you have these cast gray ones. I'm not sure if there's anything else, but nonetheless, they have multiple suppliers on there, and that's what they consider to be approved equal. Our intention approved equal was cast or other cast, not cast and fiberglass. So that's where the confusion became between them thinking that they were providing the town what we anticipated we were going to receive versus actually what we were going to get. And so that's where this change order was brought to my attention and
So in the
presented to the
future, is
town.
this something we need to do differently or something that you need to do differently?
For future, what we can do on this is we'll have to further tailor our special provisions to say that the approved equal list for NDOT will only be allowed on the on the cast iron material list, not the fiberglass, not the brick.
Okay.
That will eliminate the problem.
That will
going
eliminate the
forward.
problem.
Right.
Any other comments or questions?
I got another comment.
Yeah.
On ADA requirements.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed on Facebook, I seen a picture, and I'm like, oh gosh, they put a curb. But I was told today that curb, and are you familiar, are you on that project?
Yes.
And you know where I'm talking about, here in Lake?
Dina Court and Judith,
There you go.
Ventura and Dina
Right.
Court, yeah.
And I looked at that, I seen the curb, I said, what is this for? I guess there has to be a certain slope. Does that change the bid pricing too, if they miss it? And that could change, like another change order?
No, we have bid items in place for that, so we're able to pay for that work to be done under the existing bid items. So that situation you're speaking of specifically is on Dina Court.
Right.
And Ventura. So there was an existing water main break there, and the town had requested through Public Works for us to improve that area there, and as well as while we were there to do the ADA improvements. And so once we went out there, we looked at the ADA, and you're allowed 2% cross slope. So if your sidewalk, if you're walking on the sidewalk this way, your 2% is this cross slope. Conversely, on your circulatory path, which would be your walking pattern, you're allowed max slope 1 to 12, or 8.33%. When we tore that out and we shot that corner in with the laser, it was way off. It was like 12%. So from an ADA standpoint, it was a liability to the town to put it back the way it was. So the way that you address that issue is you put what's called an integral return curb. And so that's where you see just basically like a stand-up 6-inch curb. And that runs back far enough so it allows you to flatten out that slope and get it low enough so that, because otherwise the sidewalk would be 6 inches lower than what the existing grass grade was. So you need something that's basically like a retaining wall to retain the existing grass grade that's there so that doesn't slough off and fall onto your sidewalk. And as much as it had to be lowered, there was really no other way to do that without retaining it with the curb coming back like that.
So it's fixed or it's going to be
Yes.
fixed?
So it's corrected,
And
yes.
the 6-inch valve is going to be lowered.
Yes, yeah, I talked to Bob Davis about that, and they couldn't spin it down, so I guess they can cut it off and then repair it from there. So that's what's going to anticipate it.
Right, we got a machine that we got
Yep.
that can go inside there and cut it.
Yep.
I looked at it today and I asked, what is this?
Yeah, it's
So,
pretty cool. I never knew you could do that.
Yeah, so it worked
Learn
out fine.
some- learn
But they
something
had to
new.
wait for the concrete, they want to set the grade the right way, they can cut it, but if they cut it wrong, then it's a big mess. So
Right.
now the concrete's in there, it's poured, they can cut it and it'll be level with the
Flush,
sidewalk.
yep.
So-
So we don't have no tripping hazard.
Okay, anything else? Wayne?
That's it.
Mike, anything?
No.
Nope, all right. All right, so do I have a motion concerning this change order? Anyone?
I'd like to make a motion to approve $9,314.62 for improvements on the ADA
Okay, thank you, Brian.
Second.
Thank you,
platform.
Wayne. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, say nay. It is approved 5-0.
While I was here, I wanted to give you guys an update on the construction schedule and where we're at currently with the project, since
Thank
I
you.
have all you in the room. Currently, we are probably, I'd say, about 90% done with all the concrete work, which would include the curb and gutter improvements. Those were addressed. Anything that affected storm drainage and water runoff was the criteria for us to remove it. So we're probably about 90% done with that. We're waiting on a few of the cast truncated domes to come in because we have had to add that work at Dina Court. And so we didn't anticipate we needed those, so we're waiting for a couple of those to come back. So as of the 1st of June, all the concrete work will be done. Let me get my dates back out here.
And is that for Joliet Street and Thielen, or is that for the entire
That's
town?
for the entire town wide.
Okay.
So we have
So it's all the community crossing grant
all the community
projects?
crossing concrete work will be done as of June 1st. They'll finish that. We'll have the domes in for that. From May 27th through June 1st, we'll complete all the restoration. So that's the area on the back side of the curbs or the areas where we eliminated ADA ramps. There are a lot of ramps in town to nowhere. That's a liability from the town from an ADA standpoint. So we did take all those ramps out that went to nowhere, and those will be restored with restoration, with lawn restoration, seeding and blanket is what's going to go down. We'll continue to water that. If anything comes up where it's not germinating possibly, then we can look into putting sod in there as well. So we have it written into our specifications that we can do either or. June 7th through June 15th, we'll begin the milling process. The intent on that is they will go through, and on these roads, we're going to do deep patches, which is a 4-inch mill, and then we'll pave it with 2 inches of surface. So they're going to come through and they're going to mill everything off for the surface first, and then they'll mill the deeper areas as well those days, and then they'll follow back behind patching those in, and then we'll surface the whole road and every road, and then we'll knock each road in that same manner out. That'll go from beginning on June 7th through the 15th, and 2 days after the 7th, on June 9th, they'll begin paving. So we'll have 2 days of milling operations, and then they'll follow up with paving, and it'll just continue going from there on forth. We're going to have at least one paving crew. They're trying to get 2 paving crews because they just are gung-ho about getting all the work done for us as fast as possible, and I'm all for that. And then the last thing that would be done intermittently is Joliet Street. That's where we're going to have those deep cuts along the edges, and we're going to improve the road widening. You guys are probably aware, on Joliet along the edges, you can see there's an existing concrete roadway underlayment on that road, and the outer, like, 6 to 18 inches of that road, there's nothing there, and so that's why it's falling apart. So we're going to dig that area out and improve that. We're waiting on a maintenance of traffic for that roadway because Ruth Riley has requested to close the road to through traffic except for homeowners that live there because of the deep cuts that we're going to be doing. It's just not safe for traffic to go through there. We had anticipated we would flag it, but I told them if they gave us an approved MOT plan, I would present it to the council and we can entertain the idea. It's kind of standard operating procedures. I just didn't anticipate that they would do that. We were going to allow them to flag. Once they give me that MOT, I'll present that to you guys, and we can, and as long as everything's in order, I will recommend for you guys to go ahead with that closure.
And MOT is what?
Maintenance of traffic. So
Okay.
that's the signage you put up. So like when Milestone was doing on Joliet and they had the detour route up, Ruth Riley would do the same thing. We
Okay.
would stop the traffic back on the other, we'd have preliminary signage up on the other side of the Parish Avenue roundabout prior to coming that way, so they know that they need to turn before then, because we'll have to detour them around north of.
We don't know what date that is yet, or is
No,
it?
they were supposed to get me an MOT this week. I'm still anticipating that I'll get it this week. And then once I get it, it won't take long for me to review that and approve that, and I can get that over to you. So we're anticipating that same week of June 7th that hopefully they'll start doing the work on Joliet, but that's contingent on getting that maintenance of traffic and approving that through the council.
Okay.
Because I want to get that to you guys so you can get it up on the website, on the Facebook page, wherever you have it, so residents know that it's forthcoming and everyone can be prepared for it.
Okay.
I don't know right now how long it's going to take for them to finish that work on Joliet. It is a pretty significant stretch, and they're doing both sides of the road, so I don't want to underestimate the time frame yet. I'm waiting on them to give me a better idea on how long they think that'll take. I think that's all I got for construction schedule.
You've worked with our Public Works Director on the list for the next call for the Community
Yes.
Crossing Grant, which should be coming out soon.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, currently, we haven't had any notification from NDOT. I'm on the email list for that when it comes out. I have not seen anything yet. Now, they were delayed on this first call. Usually within 30 days, they award them. They waited almost 4 months to award them. They didn't award them until almost the third, fourth week of April, which is
Yeah.
kind of odd. So,
I just want to make sure we're ready.
yeah. Yep, we're moving forward with that.
There was one street on the list for this year that got moved to, it's at the top of the list for next
Correct.
year.
Correct.
And I know you probably don't have anything to do with the 41 project, but your company does. I want to stress the fact that it's dangerous going into Alsop Nursery. I was out there for the water main break on Monday, and you have older ladies, older gentlemen. They think there's a turn only lane, and they're in the oncoming traffic lane waiting to turn, and you got a semi coming. Almost had 2 accidents there while we were there. Is there any way that you can get with your company to maybe make that a little safer?
What I can do is I'll reach out to Dave Beal. He's the project manager with Milestone on that job. He's my project manager on the West 96 improvements. Excuse me, sorry. I'll reach out to him and see what we can do, because I actually was going down the road today to go down there and take pictures of the work that's going on there, and I had some lady pull out in front of me and I almost hit her because she could not see me coming up the road, and so there's blind spots everywhere on those pull-outs
And
there.
it's kind of tricky if you're not familiar with it. And you have another semi almost run into somebody, but he had the shoulder to go on by Lum Corporation that's on the side, so.
Yeah.
It is dangerous, and then the owner of Alsop Nursery was asking questions too. He says, I got contractors that are complaining they can't get out of there because they're pulling trailers. You come out, you got enough room to get out with a car, let alone a trailer,
Right.
and somebody's going fast. Maybe the police department could monitor that a little bit. It is a construction zone, and the fines are double in a construction zone.
Yeah, it seems like people are maintaining the speed properly. I just think that it's such a blind spot when they pull out of Alsop
Yeah,
there that
it's-
you can't see. If there's traffic coming from the other direction, you can't see. It's just, so I'll reach out to Dave Beal, and what I'll
Oh,
do is
thank you.
I'll request their actual maintenance of traffic for that work, because NDOT requires them to have all that, and that's public record. So if I can't get it from him, I can pull it from the website, and I'll verify what's supposed to be there, and if it's not adequate, we'll have them adjusted. Obviously, it's not adequate based on what you're saying, so I'll reach out with him and ask him if he could please do something to better improve that. If we can possibly maybe get some sort of signage up that says, watch for left turn or right turn, something to make the people on 41 observant that people are trying to turn out there. So as people nose out, they can try to help that situation. I know the problem with it is too, initially, is that they're doing the 2 crossings, and so there's that jog, and then it kind of comes back, and then it jogs again. So it's kind of a cluster of a nightmare right there right now.
So the water main project or the water, can you give us an update on where we're at on that as well?
As far as that, no, that would be Scott Cooked at our office. I know, I don't want to speak on that because I'm not leading that project,
Wayne,
so.
do you have any information that you can share on that, or that you know? 'Cause
Well-
I know you were out there.
With the water main project, and this goes back, let's say, about 5 years ago, I think Matt and I were talking before the meeting, that when we put in that water main, the state, somebody had to know, because the town wouldn't just, the water main usually goes straight.
Correct.
They knew that there's a underground pipe, and that when the state was gonna widen the road, because the state it don't happen right away, it takes 3, 4, 5 years to plan this, that was in the planning stage then, they told us it's okay to put the main in. Then they said, okay, the drain is gonna be here, because that's where the pipe is. And that's what we did. We planned it. They planned everything. That's what happened. They hit a 45. It went down to 45, another 45, and it went low. They were anticipating having that culvert, not the culvert, what would you call it?
It's a culvert, you're right.
Okay,
It's a culvert pipe, yeah.
I thought I had the wrong word.
No, it's a culvert, you're correct.
They were anticipating that. So they were told by the state whatever. And now all of a sudden we got a conflict. And all this started probably when NIPSCO was putting in their poles. When NIPSCO, everybody's seen NIPSCO at Kmart. It was a good idea for NIPSCO. Let's put the poles in. Rule of thumb, and tell me if I'm wrong, engineer, whoever goes deepest in the ground goes first. No communication at all. And I think, I won't name the name of the company, but they didn't communicate with us. They should have been out there, even with the water main project that we did when we repaired it on Monday. They put the pipe there. It's right, that's that far from the top of our main, which is kind of ridiculous. So it's in conflict. It's in conflict. They should, in my opinion, they should have to pay for some of that. That we were told we couldn't get C900, the 12-inch main. The town purchased their own. It was spent $27,000 for it. We got it. We're willing to move that, but we should be compensated, I think, for that. Because they gave us the permit, they knew it was there, it was bad planning, and with our engineer, Scott Kukta, he said they should move it 5 more feet to the north, there would be no conflict. But they didn't do that. I think they put the cart before the horse, and they cut the street. My opinion, not an engineer, if they would have found the main first, they could have said, oh, it's not there, let's move over, we're going to be in conflict with this. And would have probably saved a whole lot of problems. But again, no communication. If you have the communication, if you and I want to do something and put in somebody else, hey, what about this? What about that? It's happened before on projects. You had, what do they call that when you're meets? You have a meet, this is what's going to happen. We had a meet on March 25th with the engineers, and they told us it's not going to be in conflict. And then all of a sudden it's conflict. But, maybe because it's the state and they're up here, they can tell you what to do, how to do it, but that's not good business.
So Wayne, you're losing me a little bit. So when was this pipe put in originally that goes into the culvert?
When we were having problems, Mike, with the water main between Elsip Nursery, the entrance to Elsip Nursery, and down there by the oil change place.
Yes.
Public Works was out there
When
7 times maybe in a course of years, a few years, 4 or 5 years.
When did it originally go in?
Probably about 40 years ago, 35 years ago. So it's an old main. They was having problems. The soil, it's a ductile main, the old one. So it was having problems with deterioration. We spent a lot of time out there. So our water operator back then, Derwin, said, let's move this. So we got the permits. I think it was engineered by your company. And
Correct.
we put that all into play. And we followed the state, what they wanted. We're probably still in their right of way, if I'm not right, I'm wrong. Did what they wanted to do, and that's why they did the 45 and dipped down. They were allowing for that when the state would come in to put their pipes in, their culvert. And when the state came in just recently, they tore the heck out of that. They should have, and our locator was there, had a probe, said, here, it's right here. So when you dig for a water main, you don't dig across it, you dig parallel, and you find the main. That's your job to find the main. They got a 5-yard bucket with teeth on it like that. Well, we're used to the backhoe, use a little bit at a time. Whatever they did, they yanked it, they hit the joint, and it looked like a flood out there. Things happen, but I think it could have been done a little bit differently.
Absolutely.
So was that NIPSCO's guy, contractor?
No, that was
Golf.
Golf Construction.
Golf is the underground contractor underneath Walsh and Kelly, Milestone. Milestone is the general contractor. Golf is the sub who's doing the underground work. So yeah, they are required by law to pothole and to locate your main prior to digging. If they're within 2 foot and they're working with it, they're required by law to hand dig or hydro excavate. That's the law. So when they hit the main, if they didn't pothole it, then shame on them. They should have potholed it, and
But they say they did,
that's no fault to anyone but Golf at that point. And so I don't know what happened. I don't want to speculate, but they should have located it, and it should have. If you locate it, you know where it's at. If it's in conflict like they're saying it is, then it should have been notified, like you said, to the town, because then the town could have sent somebody out there to lower or to adjust it, because
So Wayne,
they
you're
did-
saying that the contractor out there used an improper equipment and then hit the main?
Well, he's using equipment. He could have maybe used small, but when you're digging, Mike, if you want to find this pen, and there's flags that say it's there.
That's why I'm asking,
You
right?
have to find that first. You
That's what
can't
I'm
just
asking.
dig.
So you're saying he didn't do that?
Doesn't look like it, and you're digging across the main, and them teeth are good size. I mean, and the bucket, it's like a 5-yard bucket. Could have went with a smaller machine, or they could have potholed. Potholing means you bring out a vac truck and you find it, and it don't look like they did that.
Well, perfect example, I was over the US 41 sanitary relocation project just north of there by the oil exchange. NIPSCO's facilities were on one side, the existing sanitary was on the other side. We were putting our line, moving it for this same project to the east. We had to pothole all of those. I made Grimmer pothole those. It's required because if they hit that, they're liable and they have to pay to fix it. So, like Wayne said, the main was planned to be moved in preparation for this project, is my understanding. That's why the duct is there. You don't do that. That's not typical unless you're preparing for something that's forthcoming, and the town was preparing for the forthcoming culvert pipes, as Wayne references, that was gonna go in there. So when they hit that main, and you know that the pipes are here, and our main is, that duct is right underneath it, the town should have been notified so that you have the opportunity to adjust that back to get it out of the way, because it got put back together, and now that 45 duct is right underneath that first most southernmost culvert pipe, and there's only maybe an inch and a half of clearance
This is the
between
first
it.
I'm hearing of this. So who paid for this repair? Who was responsible for this?
Well,
repair?
right now, when I was out there with Bob Davis, the guy, I think he's from the state, well, one of the contractors, the supervisor said they were gonna pay for it. H&G came out as a company that we hire once in a while to do that, and they were out there. So what had happened, they fixed the one, there was 145, then there's another 45 in there. They didn't know that was leaking. They turned on the water, and with being that the main is so big, you gotta go slow. You can't just crank, you couple turns, let it fill up, because if you let it go fast, between here and that wall, if it's empty, it's gonna be like a train coming. When it hits that wall, it's gonna cause a
Thrust.
burst. Yeah.
Thrust.
Thrust, and it's gonna wreck more things than you could imagine. That's a 12-inch water main that supplies this end of town. It sends everything this way coming out of the
So
treatment
the
plant.
contractor, he paid and was, and
I don't know what the status of that is. They're probably gonna get a bill for it.
This was yesterday, right?
This was Monday.
Monday.
Monday, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know how that's gonna work, Mike, but they said they were gonna pay for it.
okay. Because obviously our responsibility is to protect our town's finances.
Well,
our
that's what you-
residents, so
that's what you wanna
That's
do.
a question in my mind, I'm immediately asking, so.
So about 8 o'clock, they were filling it up. Then they found out the hole filled up again. There was another leak, another problem. So they had to call that company back out, and then they had to redo it, the second leak. And at the same time, the water main blew up on 107th and Northcott. So we had to fix that. That was 12 foot down.
So, okay, so I'm comfortable with that, but like I would like,
Yeah,
have
but
an
it-
update on that when that happens.
Yeah.
Generally, what happens here is the town went out there and fixed it. We keep track of our time,
Our
our
equipment.
guys out there, what it costs us, and then they will send a bill to the contractor and they will reimburse the town the cost to fix that.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem.
One final
Thank you, Matt.
question, Matt. In our preliminary meeting,
Mm-hmm.
we were shooting for being done completely with the repave by the third full week of July. In other words, there would be 1 week left in July in order for us, we'd be done. Are they still on target, or are they?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
running a little late?
I think we'll be done by the end of
Think you'll
June.
be-
End of
okay.
June, yeah,
I was just
I don't
curious
see
if
it
you
going
had-
into July.
with the
We don't have
delays
any,
and the
we don't have any
ADA
construction delay issues going on, we don't have any supply issues, everything that we need to build the job is readily available,
So
thank
we should
God.
be wrapped up, yeah, we should be wrapped up by the end of July.
Yeah, into June.
No, I mean the repaving.
No, we'll be done by June. We won't be working in July.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'll be done, yeah, they'll finish up by the end of June,
That's quick.
Okay.
yeah. If they get 2 paving crews going on, it might even be
that's it.
sooner.
If
It
they
might
get
even
the
be
second
sooner
one
than
in,
that.
yeah.
So, but yeah, we got 14 streets to pave.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good night.
Thank you. Okay. We move on to item C, was this resolution. So item C and item D are both attaining to the annexation of 8901 Deodore. Resolution 2021-05-26 is to adopt the fiscal plan for the meeting annexation. Questions or comments? Or do I have a motion?
I'll move to adopt resolution 2021-05-26, a resolution adopting the fiscal plan for the mini annexation.
Thank you, Brian. Is there support for that?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. And item D would be ordinance 1732, which is the ordinance that actually is the annexation of that real property at 8901 Deodore in St. John. We approved this on first reading last month, so right now we're looking for a motion to adopt ordinance 1732.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there support for that?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Item E is ordinance 1736, which is an ordinance amending ordinance 1483, the Greystone R2 PUD, to include the recently annexed parcel platted as Unit 1, Block 6. Do I have a motion to, where are we? Motion to consider that on first reading?
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there support for that?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Aurelio. Questions or comments? Then all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I abstain.
Okay, that is approved 4-0 with one abstain. All right, then we will move on to item F, which is ordinance 1733, which is an ordinance amending our salary ordinance of 1720. I believe we've made modifications here for the building and planning department, and also a couple modifications on the fire department.
Yeah, the fire department, they're gonna add the position of a deputy chief in there. They need that in the salary ordinance. Right now, that just puts it in there. We would still have to approve that position being filled. Then there's one spot down here that has to be, that open spot.
Oh, okay.
That's gonna be firefighter EMT part-time. It's in your SNCC stuff there. And then down on the bottom where it says all full-time personnel, it'd be all full-time firefighter EMT and firefighter paramedics. That's for the clothing allowance. And then the other part is to change the volunteer pay. They will be getting paid hourly when they show up for a call.
Okay.
And then there was another one with the farmer's market.
So, what we would request, I guess, are a couple amendments. So Dave, if you kind of want to follow along and make sure it's okay. One, I will start under D, fire department. There's an empty space to the left of not to exceed 2188. That empty space should read firefighter/paramedic, comma, part-time.
So that's the title of that position.
That would be the title of the position.
Say it again, please. I'm sorry.
Firefighter/paramedic, comma, part-time. And then underneath that, we would request the revision to be, this is on the uniform allowance, instead of reading all full-time personnel, to read all full-time firefighter/EMT and firefighter/paramedics. So then it does not include civilians.
Okay.
That was it for fire, right? And then, under farmer's market. Well, I'll draw your attention back to building and planning. You'll see that there's a retroactive date to January 18th, 2020, under section 4. We would request that that same language be written into section 1 for the farmer's market as well. So they're not really material changes per se, it's just the farmer's market change, if you're wondering why. It's always been paid, farmer's market employees have always been paid from the farmer's market fund, but somehow in 2020, it was written that farmer's market employees would be paid out of the general fund. We didn't make that change in our system in 2020, and we paid them out of the farmer's market fund. So we're requesting to backdate that to make sure that you guys approve of the fund in which they were paid from.
Sure.
And then you would be correcting that for this year and then obviously going forward.
Right. And then we did kind of the same thing for the building inspector. We added a second position there. We made that retroactive.
Correct.
Or we'll make that retroactive, okay.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know that I'm comfortable with the building and planning part of this. But to make those 2 spots instead of 1, there were 2 there. There was 2 there, there was 1 spot before, correct? I know this was on last month's agenda and
So-
it got deferred, so that's, I'm trying to refresh my
What
memory.
happened here is an employee in 2020 was provided a promotion letter, let's say, for an amount that wasn't identified in the salary ordinance.
Okay,
So that's why,
so this is to justify what he was paid?
correct.
Okay. then-
It's to match that letter that was provided to him.
Right, okay, then I'm fine with it,
Yep.
okay. Any other questions on this modifications of this ordinance, gentlemen?
I don't have anything.
Then I will entertain a motion to adopt ordinance 1733, which is an ordinance amending the salary ordinance 1720.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian.
The amendment as read into the record.
I'm sorry,
I just want to be clear in light of like what we just went through, right?
in light of our modifications or changes, okay.
Is the motion to approve ordinance 1733 with the amendments that Beth just read into the record?
Yes, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yes, it is.
So we're doing this in one shot.
Yes.
Got it.
All right, is there support for that?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions or comments before we call for the vote? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. And since that was unanimous, do we want to approve this then and adopt it?
Yes. So moved.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Thank you, Mike. Seconded by Brian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Reports and correspondence. Brian, anything?
No, sir, I think people covered most of it tonight.
Okay. Mr. Aurelio.
I have nothing at this time.
Mr. Pondinas.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
In talking to our water operator, Bob Valois, we did have that problem on Monday, and we don't have an ordinance for when people dig around our utilities, and I'd like Mr. Westland to look into it or draft an ordinance that says anytime a utility is coming around our utility within 2 feet, it's going to be part of our ordinance that they will pothole and they will find our utility before they start digging. We've had 3 different hits on our water main on 41 in the last year, or year and a half. We can't continue to do that. It's costing us time, money. Our residents and businesses get out of water. They're inconvenienced, and that's not right. So I'm going to ask Mr. Westland if we can draft an ordinance for if it's possible, that whenever somebody's gonna dig around our utility, it'll be an ordinance, they have to pothole, they have to find where our stuff is before they dig.
So I need to take a look at that, because that's.
Right, yeah,
we're
but-
trying to exercise jurisdiction over other utilities who have a lawful right to be in
Where
an
they're at.
easement.
Right.
Like, so, it's getting a little nuanced, and I'm not comfortable giving you that legal opinion right now.
No, you don't have to do it right now, but to
but-
work on it.
But we can certainly take it.
Right, yes, thank you.
I get the spirit of what you're going for.
Right, thank you.
Okay, good. Anything else, Wayne?
That's it.
Mike?
I have nothing.
I do have a couple things. First of all, we have been getting a lot of information on grant money that's supposed to be coming through coronavirus relief funds, the American Rescue Plan Act, and there's just a lot of details and a lot of information that's out there that has to be disseminated, and I think it's just important for everybody to know that we're aware of all the stuff that's available, and we are going to be investigating how much of it we can actually use. I know there are a lot of stipulations and guidelines. I think, from what I understand, St. John was earmarked for $3.9 million. That is going to have to be required to be specific in how it can be used, and that's federal money. So realistically, from what I've been told, we may not get much or any of it, but if we've got some projects in mind, we can do that. So there's a lot of information out there that needs to be disseminated. So I just thought it's important to let everybody know that we are aware of what's out there, and we'll be looking at it. So that's number one. Number two, I talked to Andy James today and confirmed that we will be doing fireworks on July the 3rd, Saturday evening. I coordinated that date with fire, public works, softball, baseball, the ice arena, just to make sure that we had a facility that was going to be available to do that. And we'll be doing that over in the Heartland Park area. So that'll be on July the 3rd. And what else have I got here? The administrative assistant in the town manager's office was hired, and we gave her a starting rate and told her we would review her contract after 90 days. That typically is the responsibility of the town manager. And since we don't have a town manager, in order for us to address that raise, Mr. Westland said we needed to deal with that at this meeting, or a town council action, actually. Based on the fact that her 90 days was up on May 8, I am looking for a motion to raise her salary to $24 per hour, retroactive to May 8. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mike. Is there support for that?
Second.
Questions or comments?
What was the motion again? I'm sorry. I think
We are going to raise her salary to $24 per hour,
okay, thank you.
effective May 8th.
Okay, thank you.
Retroactive.
Retroactive.
Retroactive, I'm sorry.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. That is all I have. Beth?
Just one item. I have set for notice of publication in the Times tomorrow, a notice of sale of real estate. That, we didn't take care of that today, did we?
We did.
Okay, so I believe the council should maybe consider approving the notice of sale of real estate to abutting property owners. That's for the Outlot A and the Oak Meadows area.
Right, if you'll recall, 2 months ago, I think it was, the representatives of NIPSCO came in.
Oh, so it's the NIPSCO one that we had on last month's agenda.
That strip.
Is that the little,
But now you need to authorize Beth to publish.
Okay.
I assume we're not gonna get many bidders, other than NIPSCO. We're entitled to sell it to the abutting owner for the appraised value, which off the top of my head,
$12,000.
$12,000? Yeah.
So That's what the notice was for, because they're an abutting owner.
Okay.
Utilize the statute that allows it for you to sell it.
So what action do we need?
A motion to authorize your clerk treasurer to publish notice of the sale.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there support for
Second.
that? Thank you, Wayne. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Beth, anything else?
That's it.
Mr. Westland?
So I never have anything right, but I got something tonight.
All right.
The public emergency for the state of Indiana is set to expire on June 1st. However, tomorrow or the next day, it could be extended by executive order another 30 days. What allows you to have virtual meetings is the fact that there's a public emergency. Prior to the pandemic, the statute did not allow for anyone to appear at a meeting virtually. During the pandemic, the legislature passed or amended the statute and is now allowing for governing bodies to adopt a written policy to allow for members to appear with limitations virtually. And the limitations are things like you can't miss 2 meetings in a row and do those virtually in a row unless there's a category of excused absences like illness, military service, and things like that. The statute was designed for the rare instance where somebody had to appear virtually. If you're going to appear virtually, the statute requires the person to be seen and heard. So you can't turn like your screen off and just have your name on there. It also says that, and I'm summarizing, that there are certain things that you cannot vote on virtually, like adopting your budget, exercising eminent domain, I think certain personnel decisions, and I'm doing this from the top of my head. In any event, what I'm getting at is that if you want to have the option to allow members of this body or other boards in St. John to appear virtually, then you would need to adopt through ordinance a written policy, which you don't have to decide tonight. If the public emergency ends, then your meeting in June will be in person, but you guys are all pretty good about coming in person anyway. So just food for thought, and certainly think about it and decide what you want to do. If you would adopt no policy and the public emergency ends, then your virtual meeting, the person could not be counted as present.
They'd have to be present.
Physically present.
Physically
counted
present.
as
Okay. All right, we can take that under consideration. Anything else?
Meeting, no more meetings from your couch.
That's right.
Unless we approve it.
Well, I think you should be in person.
Only 1 in a row. You don't get 2 in a row.
All right. Anything else, sir? No. Okay. Then we'll move on to item 8, which is a request to purchase. Beth?
So I presented the council with 7 RTPs totaling $86,446.39. Those 7 RTPs are to Bozak Ford, Midwestern Electric, Core and Main, M.E. Simpson, Warmer Industries, Ferguson Waterworks, and Fire Services, Inc.
Okay. And the total of that was, I'm sorry, 86,000?
446.39.
446.39.
Yes.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor of approving the request to purchase signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. All right, item number 9 is the payment of the bills for the corporation. You have the docket in front of you. The docket for $1,459,790.42. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Wayne. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. That is approved 5-0. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.